Hello people, and welcome back to part 18 of Noveria, our Cities Skylines snow build. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. And thank you for all the support last episode, and for those that turned up to the YouTube premiere. And we had a nice time putting together our downtown road network frame, which of course is subject to a fair amount of change as we begin to construct the skyline. Super fan of this little canal that's flowing through the downtown now. And I'm sure this will be a nice little layer of depth as we begin to climb up with the skyline today. And that is what we are going to work on today, is the skyline, right? One of my, probably the favourite thing for me to build in this game is constructing a skyline out of all our unique buildings. Especially now we have all the content creator packs available to us. So yeah, there's lots to be getting involved in. And right now, kind of Noveria's downtown is kind of fairly flat and low, isn't it? And you know what else is low? Instant gaming's prices. That's right guys, I am an instant gaming partner, and there are links down below that do help support the channel, and you can pick yourself up some insanely cheap codes for your chosen platform. If you haven't checked out the link, go ahead and do so, and thank you for all the support. Anyway, before we start with today's skyline, it is important that we have a point of reference as to what we're going to be working from. So let's head over to Google Maps and find out what inspiration we're going to be taking. Hello people, and welcome to Chicago, which is going to be a source of inspiration for Noveria's skyline. So for those that follow Palaven, you know we based the downtown very heavily off of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. And for Noveria, we will be referencing Chicago for a good chunk of it. So what I mean by kind of to an extent of the inspiration we're taking from here, right? So if we have a look along kind of this axis of the Chicago skyline, it is wide as cheeks. It goes on for miles and miles and miles, and this isn't an aesthetic that I want to create in Noveria. So we're going to be taking some very specific points of inspiration from Chicago, most notably around the riverwalk that comes through, which of course we've replicated with a canal. So if we were going to drag our little asexual yellow figurine onto the bridge here, we can have a look at a bus, which is not what I want to see. Here we go. This is what I'm after. So this is one of our key aesthetics in the city, right? Lots of bridges going over. We can get some of the walkable quays in where we have our sunken rail as well. Unfortunately, without mods, we can't get into this level of detail down right by the Chicago Riverwalk with all the little cafes and bars along the water. But we can definitely take inspiration from this skyline, right? This is a real key aesthetic as to how we want the city to look. Taking a look at the bird's eye view, we can see we have a very rigid American grid, for which you can pretty much see these are like 4x4 grids in Cities Skylines, right? They're really easy to follow. Lots of kind of mix and match zonings and assets. You can kind of see the layers of height that are building here. Small asset, level 2, level 3, and then level 4. So just having a zoom around a real life city in this Google Earth 3D view really helps us hammer home the point of what you're trying to recreate, right? Well, not recreate, just take inspiration from is kind of the point. We can also see, again, looking down this kind of lateral line, the skyline very harshly falls away from quite a significant height into what is a lot of open parkland. So yeah, this is what we're going to be referencing. If you haven't used Google Earth for your Cities Skylines projects, I can't champion the tool enough. It just helps, you know. I often get a lot of comments saying, how do you get something to look so authentic? It's because I have this up on my second monitor. I'm looking how the buildings and the skyscrapers sit up against each other, and just how the city flows from an authentic, real life perspective. So go ahead, browse the earth, find out a point of inspiration, and then let's dive back into Cities Skylines. Okay, so here we have our selection of unique buildings. Just going to place them all down. So we can just kind of grab them and then position them where we want. So there's a whole bunch of content creator pack stuff here. There's Art Deco. A lot of the Japanese content creator pack assets work really nicely. Especially this big thick black one right here. Huge fan of this one. And yeah, so we'll just kind of... Actually doesn't look kind of too bad arranged like this as it is now. So I think we'll call it there. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day. No, of course I'm joking. Let's Let's start building the Skyline, shall we? So let's dive into public transport first of all, because we do have opportunities for elevated metro to flow out of our soon-to-be transport hub. So we'll first of all start by aligning some nice public transport with our canal here. And I think metro is going to be a nice appropriate choice. So we'll come onto our freeform tool here. And then start to generate some curves into the design. Come back onto our straight wheel tool. Start feeding this down. Easily cross over the bridges here as well. I know these tiny little microscopic layers of height now are going to really start coming together to help us put together a lush looking downtown area. So let's start bringing out some supporting roads in order to place in some of the Japanese content creator stations. And I think we'll place it with the chunkier side that way, I reckon. Then that should be okay, right? And then I'm hoping we can just bring this straight down. Let's continue this one all the way through. There we go. Let's get a nice straight run down the metro here. And then keep this going. And then we'll feed this into the waterfront or the riverfront commercial over here in whatever episode we build that on. So that'll be fine. Let's also come underground for a brief moment if we dare. And we do have a metro line that flows out of the rift, which is in the university area. So we can factor in some underground metro in here as well. We'll probably end up relocating that transport hub station just because it's a little bit boring just on the road like that. We'll factor it into some kind of transport hub design. And then we'll definitely have an underground metro station here somewhere as well. So let's possibly go for... How about up against the canal here? Can we still come out this side? Yeah, so we can prepare it to flow that direction. That's going to be fine. Let's bring in some curves. Well, let's factor in another station here as well to get this to fit. Let's come back up to Earth, and then we'll bring another road out here. And let's see if we can use a different station. Don't really want to be using this one all the time. How about the elevated dual island platform? Okay, it's one we very rarely use. And that's going to sit really nicely up against the elevated bridge as well, isn't it? Very nice. And again, there's more opportunities to develop further layers of height. If we dare, be prepared to hear layers of height a lot today as well. It is going to be something of a theme of the episode, I think. So we can't cross over at this height, I don't think. We'll probably have to come up one more elevation step, but that's fine. Okay, let's see if we can line this up. Let's come off our grid. Yeah, so we want to come up 2 elevation steps here. That's fine. Let's bring it over. There we go. So again, just double checking this that we're not too ridiculous, and even already, you know, if anybody ever asks what is layers of height, you show them this screenshot, right? You get, I got the layer here, rail, highway, and this little metro in the background now as well. Okay, very nice. Let's take this away just a little bit. Hopefully the metro to just very simply flow back into the station using our freeform tool. It's important that we continue to look at all directions as well, that we're not just kind of looking too ridiculous. But that'll be fine for our initial kind of metro surge, right? I'll probably stick another station down here as well at some point today as well. Okay, let's start placing in some more important assets. So I usually like to start with the tallest one, which in the current version of the game is Penal Street. So let's relocate this. This is going to be an extremely expensive episode today. We are going to be placing a ton of buildings. We may have to play the game and let it go for a bit to get some money back, but let's start building Noveria's Skyline. So we'll start essentially with Penal Street, right? This is going to be the big chungus of the Skyline, a real eye draw. And move down sides, let's grab the office skyscraper, and it looks like we've got a chance to bring it in here, although I would like to possibly bring it onto its own road network. So the way we can do this is just go into angle and road length, And then we'll just see if we can snap into here. And I'm hoping that this will be able to be accommodated within this space here. It looks like the bridge junction is just going to stop it, which is fine. So what we will do is just remove this road structure now. So it's placing the American skyscraper there, okay? And again, all angles, very important. Don't mind that, I don't think. Okay. Not bad. It's nice to shift the angle here as well. I think one of the things looking back over the Palaban Skyline was that a lot of the angles were the same. We never really kind of shifted the angles and rotated things around. So it'd be nice to see a little bit of a difference with Noveria in that regard. Okay, so let's place this one in now. This is the high-rise office building. I want to make sure that we're somewhat sensible here. So that we can actually get this in directly behind P-Now Street. Yeah, we can. Okay. Don't mind that. That's fairly acceptable so far. Today's episode is going to be a lot of looking around, so apologies if it's not quite your cup of tea, but we'll hopefully still have a good time together, right? Okay, let's place in the Majesty. And again, I'm maintaining those crawls in height. And with assets like P&L Street as well, it has an internal crawl in height. You know, we kind of have these little tiers in like a very Empire State looking this building, isn't it? The P&L Street, and same with the Majesty as well. You know, it's got these little crawls in height, which can all be factored in to developing Skylines. You know, they have their own little themes and placements. Okay, let's grab the transport tower. And again, I'm kind of really looking for that height. This is slightly smaller than the high-rise office building, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay. That's all right. I think already I want to move the Majesty down. All right. Yes, please. Let's grab the services offices now as well. Then we'll see where we can accommodate this number. So again, looks like there's an opportunity where we can maybe squeeze it in on this side of the canal as well. A lot of our initial placement will be focused around this canal today. So how about we shatter some of these grids here? Yeah, so we can't quite place it in there, that's fine though. Let's bring it here instead. Okay. It's important that we keep looking around. You can already see it forming, so you know, kind of looking at it from this perspective now, we can see there's some significant holes developing within the skyline on the right hand side of the office skyscraper from this side. So let's see if we can begin to combat that. Let's go for a colossal order building here as well. Okay. Kind of fills in that void a little bit, right? We will do some repeated pattern with zoning today as well. It won't all be unique buildings, but you know, unique buildings are lovely, so we'll see what we can do to fit these in first and foremost. Okay, so company headquarters is going to be next. Let's see where we can squeeze this one in. How about we break this grid here? Now this is a really good looking asset, and it looks as though we could actually centralize it perfectly within this square here, and it's going to fill this void as well. So why don't we see if we can come up with a custom road network to accommodate this. I've already burnt through 2 million. Very expensive episode to date. And that's going to box in that really nicely. Really nice. I like that. Let's then come into our path with decorations. Let's come into the grid. And then we can possibly draw through some little path connections that feed into this. There's fencing opportunities as well if we want. Let's dive into some fencing whilst we develop our skyline. So this really does kind of give it more of a company headquarters look. It takes after its name a little bit more. If we kind of fence it off, maybe get some repeated tree patterns around there in our detailing time lapse as well. Okay. But already, it's not bad. It's not bad. Let's bring our time of day along a little bit as well. Just so we're not quite as dark. So maybe throw the sun over this side so we can see the assets illuminated a little bit better. Okay, what's next? High interest tower is, again, a real chungus. Now with this asset, because it's so wide, you know, it is kind of width city, this one, so its placement, again, is really important, as is its orientation. So if we were to place it here, what do we think? Or do we want it facing kind of this way, if you like? To be able to break some of these grids in the middle to accommodate it. Do we want it kind of with the wide arse side of it facing, if you like? Yeah, I think I prefer it in this orientation. Let's leave it in there for right now. We can, of course, always amend. We then have Edikavango, which again is one of the nicer uniques. So let's see where we can bring this guy in. Possibly over here. Again, I'm tempted to shatter some of these road zonings here to get this to accommodate in. I think we'll go for this one though. Let's break that and then put it up against the river. Okay. So again, now from down by the canal, we are having a really nice time. I think, you know. I think I do want to maybe switch the location of the transport tower though, just so not everything is phasing out on the canal. Maybe have the back end of it on the canal and develop some kind of plaza garden here. If you want to fill out some of these spaces, of course you can use zoning, but there's also lots of decoration opportunities using plazas from Park Life and whatnot, which is, you know, works as like an extension of the unique building, if you like, to get in those spaces. I think we have a little bit of a path space behind here as well, don't we? Yes, we do. Okay. So we can possibly just bring in a little bit of repeated path spice through the middle as well. All right. Not bad. Not bad. So the height is quickly losing now. We're coming into the observation tower, which we can have a little look again as to how we want this to sit. So is it smaller than the high interest tower? No, it is actually bigger, which is fine. I don't mind that. That's going to be okay. All right. But I think, again, we'll do something similar to what we just did with the office headquarters. And then this will allow us to just box in the high interest tower with some pathways too. And there's, again, zoning opportunities or decoration around here too. Okay. And then there is the Grand Mall, of course, which we didn't actually use in Palaven, this asset at all. And it's going to be a nice steady crawl down here, I think, isn't it? So let's have a little look about where we can possibly place this in. If I was to move Edikavango very briefly, I think I'm saying that right. I'm sure. And we're placing the Grand Mall up against here. And then Eddie is going to slide in to the Grand Mall very nicely if we kind of shift the asset orientation over to there instead. But we're crawling down, you know, let's have a little look at it from the starting roundabout in the city, wherever that is, over here. It's developing, isn't it? It's developing. We now have that view. Very excited for the cinematics today. Really looking forward to getting stuck into those. So now we're coming down into our kind of smaller office looking buildings, which we will use probably in some kind of more specific modular builds, maybe like a legal district, but we'll squeeze a few of them in. So we'll have a little brief discussion now about the inclusion of some repeated office zoning and commercial zoning to accommodate and complement the skyline. So at the minute we have a little bit of industrial demand, so we can afford to bring in some repeated 4x4 office zoning, which I've made my grids here able to accommodate. So of course one of the easiest repeated patterns to get in the game is these level 1 office buildings. They almost always come in, and when we get them into a repeated pattern, which is very nearly satisfied our industrial demand, we will hopefully be able to generate a nice block of offices which looks like a single unique building. There we go, there's the next one. Let's make that historical too. And hopefully can we go for 4th time the charm? I'm hoping so. We'll wait for that one to come in as well. So this area itself will draw so... Oh yes, there we go. Wonderful. Let's get that historical. So there we go, right? A little bit of repeated office zoning here using our specific zoning method, which we have a video on the channel covering this if you're interested. I will pop it up in the top right of the screen about now. But you know, it looks like a unique building, right? It's going to integrate into our skyline nicely, and there's various combinations of this we can do in order to get it to fit. Okay, so I think I'm fairly happy with that. Let's have a little look at the rail yard shopping centre, see where we want this to fit. Just drop it over there for right now, and then let's grab our downtown hotel and see where we can maybe bring this in too. So it's smaller than our specifically zoned building, so let's bring it in here. All right. And then how about the city office building? This would make sense to be in the downtown, right? Okay. So that's going to be fine. So what's the zoning pattern behind here? So a little bit of 4x3 repeated office zoning in here would work really nicely. And I think what I'm going to do is very briefly talk about micro districts for a brief second and bring in a very small IT specialized cluster and then zone in some 4x3 assets. And I know there's an asset here that does come in the 4x3 pattern that works nicely in a repeated pattern again. So it's not that one, but we'll leave that one in and then draw in another one over here as well. I mean, it's going to add to the skyline anyway. It's not a bad asset, is it? But yeah, as I was saying, because there's so many unique buildings here and they draw tourists and attract sims, this area will be super busy. So it'll be good to see so many people moving around this. It's like we're going to get an asset that we don't want. Let's get him away. Of course, if you're playing with plop the growables and find it, this process becomes dramatically easier, but I will show off a couple of techniques for those console players that are maybe looking to recreate something like this. We'll discuss, you know, kind of micro districts and whatnot to satisfy all of these zonings. Let's start bringing in some repeated 4x4 high density commercial. See what assets we get in here. Let's bring in a couple more spots too. I do want some parkland in the downtown as well. Let's possibly have a look at squeezing in. How about a little small park in the middle of the skyscrapers? Does this work? Yeah, I think it does. I think we can get away with that, right? Develop some kind of a parky green belt, and if we were to extend this with the natural path that comes with it, we are still saving ourselves some zoning here for some larger high density commercial assets in this space as well. Okay, so we can run this one as a repeated pattern if we like. It's not quite aligned, but you can't really tell. So I think we'll leave those in. Here we go. This is a nice high density commercial pattern with the multimedia center. It is the same asset, right? Looks like it. I think it is. Yeah, here it is. I couldn't tell for a second there. Okay, because it doesn't always have to be repeated, you know. When we were looking at Chicago for our inspo, you know, even within the same block, there were various assets that were all different heights. So how about we save this one, and then we'll allow this one to be historical, this one to grow up, and this one to grow up as well. And then it'll create that kind of gradual crawling height within the block, which contributes to the larger, you know, scheme. I think is what I'm trying to say. All right, seeing skyscraper as well. Let's not forget this one. It's not going to centralize there, which is slightly annoying, but don't particularly mind that. Let's just drop it in there for right now. Let's not actually forget that we are playing Cities Skylines, and we're not just decorating. These guys will want services, so let's come ahead and add in all of the chunky service assets. Is that the old European one? Yeah, I think we can get away with that. Let's get a police station in here as well, and that's going to fit in quite nicely here, isn't it? I think. Wonderful. Let's get a hospital in too. So the European hospital is a big Chunga's asset. We can probably use this to contribute to the skyline somewhere. So I know this isn't going to stay here, the local office building. Let's stick it there. These actually want switching around. Let's bring that down. Throw this one here. And then bring it over here. My word, we are spending so much money doing this. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, hospital. So crawling height there as well. Let's also not forget, because I very nearly did, that we have hit a level 5 university campus now. And we get unique buildings with the university campus, don't we? So let's just draw in an extension of the campus area, very messily at the minute. Let's go into the trade school. So we have the School of Tourism and Travel and the School of Engineering. Now, once we've placed them within the university district, we can actually sever it away from the main district and it'll still count. See how it doesn't lose its connection. But again, you know, these are unique buildings. They're just not under the unique buildings tab, but they work very nicely in a downtown area. So I think we'll bring these in. Will you fit here? No. No, you won't. Okay, then, well, how about here somewhere? We can adjust the road network to accommodate this in. Okay, bring it over near the transport hub. How about the School of Tourism and Travel as well? Let's have a little look about where we can... He will actually fit perfectly in that square, but it's maybe a little bit further than where I wanted. Okay, so we're starting to get some not enough worker demands, which is fine because we've got a little spike in residential here. This is an asset that works really nice as a repeated pattern. This level 2 high density commercial one, you get 4 of these in a block, and that works nicely. But we'll historical that one now, and then we're going to wait for this one to level up as well. Yeah, so we'll factor these in. Let's start bringing in some more residents up and along this area over here. Just a little bit of temporary high density residential zoning over here as well. So what's the noise pollution like coming out of the downtown in a minute? It's a very loud place to be, very loud. So we don't want lots and lots of high density commercial, of high density residential to be within the center. But I think what we can do is if we come back through this way, and we want to redraw this road in with just road length and angle, and then bring it down here to not have that shattered zoning. Let's start introducing some repeated 4x4 patterns of high density residential in and around the downtown, so people can live in the downtown, of course. And we'll get rid of these worker demands here as well as a result of that. Let's see if anyone's using the metro. Where is it? 236 already in a week. That's not bad, is it? It's not bad. Okay, yeah, look at that. Oh, look at the ants. Look at the metro ants. Hello, welcome to downtown. Welcome to downtown. So much fun this, isn't it? I hope you guys are having a nice time. I certainly am. Love building skylines. Love it. So with more angles now, we're starting to look fairly fun. How about from up on top of the final goodbye mountain next to our basic bitch snowman? There we go. Yeah. It's on its way, isn't it? It's on its way. Are you going to go taller? No. So you see, these ones aren't too bad to get in a repeated pattern. It's only a level 2 one, doesn't take that long, but I want this to be taller, so I'm going to wait for it to level up again. Got some little red tourist people here as well. They're going to the Neptune Media Store, she's unemployed. Go and get a job, Annabelle. Swanning around the downtown with no job. Go and find one. Turns out that these small parks are actually fitting in really nicely in the grids that I've chosen, so we'll just keep running with them for a little bit. And then I can now work on getting in some more repeated 4x4 residential zoning over here as well. So I will carry on zoning up, just satisfying each of the demands as they come in, waiting for stuff like this to level up, getting in some more repeated office spice as well. Hopefully we get some more office demand as these residentials grow up. They're all level 1 at the minute, aren't they? Yes, they are, it's fine. These will soon level up and become a little bit taller, which will be nice. And I think what I'll do as well, I'm going to go ahead and get this metro, overground metro ring hooked in as well, just so we can see a little bit of overground public transport coming in. And then we can possibly have a discussion about a tram system to flow through the downtown as well. So I will speak to you all in a minute. Okay, so I'm toying with the idea of including the Metro Plaza station quite centrally within the downtown square. Purely because of the view we get emerging out of this thing, right? Lots of tall buildings immediately outside it. We can develop some nice kind of tram interchanges here as well, which I think will be good. We can have a tram system serving this half of the downtown and then bring a separate one out to come out maybe down this way and serve over here, and maybe a third one to come out into the waterfront in a couple of episodes time as well. So I think that's definitely what I want to do. We'll slightly rework the metro system to accommodate this new plaza. So let's first of all, let's grab our tram depot, which again I think we can integrate into the Skyline. It's not really a bad looking asset in itself. Okay, so let's now start upgrading a few of the roads into tram so we know where we're going. So we'll come through here. There's more opportunities here for some larger commercial zonings to appear within these spaces. Maybe some of our uniques as well that we've left behind. The local register office, maybe it might fit in somewhere around here. I think that'd be okay there, right? Okay. Again, checking our street level view as well, that way we're still happy with what's developing. It's always very important. And into the transport hub, which again we'll just leave a very basic tram turnaround point and do something a little fancy with this once we come to build the downtown transport hub, which could be next episode. It's a build that kind of follows on from the Skyline, so we can get a nice loop around here. Again, possibly extend it into the waterfront come that episode as well. It feeds everyone into the metro line, and then this guy can also expand out here now as well. Let's come back into our tram roads, and then we'll feed it across the main arterial, possibly bring it down here as well. Traffic at the minute flowing around. If we just leave it on 3 speed and enjoy a little bit of bird's eye view with our traffic overlay on. Everyone seems to be flowing in a respectable manner. Lots of people are enjoying this dog bone interchanges away in and out of the downtown. Alongside this arterial is getting a fair amount of love as well. How is our elevated American Truss Bridge do. And I think once we reintroduce the on and off ramp here for it, it'll probably get a little more love. Not too many folks using it in the minute, but that's fine. Of course, we've deleted an exit ramp to accommodate some skyscrapers, but things will change, of course. Yeah, okay. Give me a second. I'm going to get these trams flowing around the new systems, and then the metro's hooked into the new plaza station too. And keeping a careful eye on our buildings here. This is going to be up to level 2. That's okay, it's historical lit. A little bit repeated corner spice. Okay, it looks like we could do with some more residential coming as well. These guys aren't really leveling up that fast yet. So we'll include a little more zoning over here as well. So let's get some public transport hooked in, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so public transport is flowing. We've now got a couple of little tram turnaround points accepting people. Of course, this tram doesn't really go anywhere at the minute, but we'll prepare it to flow. And our metro station is now hooked in at a number of locations. If we come back underground, we will have a little look-see. So 2 of the platforms are hooked in. One feeds into the line that we activated at the start of the episode, and then the red line now comes down into the metro station that arrives at Minot Square. So this place is only going to get busier now. Even though it's already... Oh god, I need to... I think we might need to turn this into a part life cheese in order to pay for today's episode, I think, right? I think we might. I'm so interested to see how much this will earn as a part life cheese. Maybe we'll do it on the stream on Sunday. We'll see. But how about that skyline now? It's developing, isn't it, eh? Let's head back to the first roundabout again. And there we go. It's growing. It's growing. Kind of looks good from all angles now, right? It's coming together. Up on the mountain here too. A little bit naked from this angle, but of course as the downtown grows around it, it will fit in a lot more. Alright. Very nice indeed. Okay guys, however, I think that feels like a good place for a detailing time-lapse. Lots of space to fill and lots more zoning to bring in here as well. And I will just continue to mooch about and refine assets, find a nice place for these 2 university assets to sit within the downtown frame as well. And then come in and detail up little areas like this, get some nice part life stuff going. And interestingly enough, the AI, you see how they're crossing over here? It's actually close enough for them to read that as a walking connection, which looks a little bit weird for them to walk across the snow, but I think what we can do is just bridge that gap with a couple of part life tiles. Develop a little bit of a crossing back into between the tram plaza and the metro plaza. Oh, look at the ants. Yes. So happy. So much fun building a skyline, everyone. I really enjoy this. I hope you've enjoyed the episode today as well. Yeah, one of my favourite things to do in the game. But either way, let's detail up, and then we'll see what we look like come the end, shall we? Okay guys, that is going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares below really do help out the channel and feed my algorithm. Equally as much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. Really happy with the bulk start of Noveria's Skyline. Lots of different themes here, including repeated patterns, which we've covered in modular builds before, which I will leave linked down below in case anyone is interested in how we've generated some of these patterns today. But a really nice, gentle, crawling height as we head kind of towards that downtown central metro plaza. And it's pulling in about 1,000 people a week already, only with 2 platforms hooked in. So as the downtown now expands around this, including green cities residential stuff, waterfront parkland, office parks, commercial and law districts, university campuses, all of our downtown builds, and indeed if you would like to see any particular downtown builds, please feel free to throw them in the comments below and we'll see if we can integrate them into Noveria's downtown. But I'm really happy with it and I hope you enjoyed it. This video took a long time to make and you guys wouldn't have seen all the detailing, so do hang around for the outro tag with a classic Onyx track. But otherwise, I will shut up and I will leave it there. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And, as always, enjoy the rest of your day.